Hey everyone, this is Derek, just chiming in with a quick note here. This episode was supposed to come out on Leap Day, but sometimes life happens and you just don't get anything done in time because of life. So here we are, several days late. I'm super sorry. This was our Leap Day episode because it's a leap year. So yeah, enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our tiny little corner of the internet here on the Dane and Derek Show. I am the aforementioned Dane. I do all kinds of things. I write. I still play music from time to time. I've done podcasts. I'm in law school. I do stuff. Huge D&D gaming fan. We haven't just done an intro of us in a while. And with me, as always, is Derek.
Hi everybody, I am the aforementioned Derek. I am a filmmaker, writer-director type. I play a lot of D&D, and yeah, hang out with my good pal Dane here every so often.
Yeah. I am the captain of this episode because February is my birth month, and that's honestly kind of the only. But also. That's about the only reason. Also, it's fun. It's fun sometimes. But this episode is about leap year and leap day. So, here we go. Derek, when did you figure out what leap day was and leap year as like a kid?
I remember my mom told me at some point. I don't know why. I think I probably asked her, like, why do we have a leap year? And she was like, oh, because, like, the calendar's a little off, so we make up for it by having an extra day, every 4 years. And that was maybe the first time I'd heard about it. And to be honest, I didn't think much of it until, I guess the fact that 2020 was a leap year and now we're here in 2024 and it's also a leap year. And it's sort of an interesting bookend of years in between. So for me, I couldn't even begin to think about like when I noticed it or whatever. But what I do remember is the first time I ever cared about it was the first time I I heard about somebody, like maybe it was on like This American Life or it was on some radio show on NPR. Where somebody was like, had the voice of like a 30-year-old man, right? And they're like, I'm 7, and I was like, what do you mean? And like the concepts kind of like being born on a leap day and how that's like weird in certain ways kind of like stuck with me. And ever since I've always been like, that's kind of strange. And then I was kind of thinking about like, from that, like the thing about leap years is that in our kind of like, I would kind of describe it as like our Western European calendar. I don't think there are not many things that show up on our calendar on a non-annual basis. Do you know what I mean? Like there are very few things that come along that don't come along every year. And so it's this weird delineation of time that doesn't show up in terms of like, well, okay, a decade. But a decade just sort of works because it's 10 of something, or a century, right? Like a leap year, like the only other things that kind of like come up for me are like whenever it has come back around that it is my year of the mouse in the like the Japanese zodiac. Because my grandmother told me the story about the mouse and the kicking of the cat out of the calendar, and then the emperor let the cat in anyways in the Japanese one. But anyways, it's these very like it's I like it because it's irregular, and I wish there were more things like that, regular but not annual. I want more like every 7 years things. Like, I just love that stuff, right? Like, it's like, I don't, how many, like certain comets come back every so often or whatever. It's just stuff like that I wish we had more integrated into our lives. in which to make life feel less regimented, if you know what I mean. So, you know, them's the feelings here.
Yeah.
I do have some history for you, but I'm curious what your response is to a regular year nonsense.
You know, it's always a pleasant surprise. Like to have like things in a regular year, like I don't know, I guess like as the years have gone by, I've noticed Easter's become earlier and earlier. Or like when Christmas falls on like a strange day, you know? That's always interesting. I think, yeah, like, because I remember we learned about like how like, yeah, like the science and the math isn't quite exact with the leap year. And so I always wonder why, like, how come we don't have like, I guess like different days or different months to like account for that like lack of time that is being, you know, offset by it. But I don't know. I think the irregularities definitely help keep people on their toes. So yeah.
One of the things I definitely like about it is it's like, you ever see like a tree or a plant like grow through the sidewalk or the pavement?
Oh yeah, or like grow around a giant rock so it has like a U shape kind of hugging the rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Leap year and leap day feel like that to me, where it's like humans try so fucking hard to make everything perfect and orderly and clear. And like, I like the reminder that, you know, the universe is like, nah, man, I'm sorry that you want this very specific, like it would be really nice if it was a nice clean number of days in a year for you. But it's not. Sorry. Too bad.
Yeah.
You know, so
Right.
Your calendar's a little fucky, like, and I just kind of like that energy. But it's interesting you bring up the whole idea of another month to account for it, because we use our calendar to account for this. However, in other calendars, it's accounted for by a whole 13th month instead.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, hold on.
I did not know that. For those wondering, Dane's wandering off into the space around, hunting for
I'm pulling up my
the information,
my research.
the research. Just, I'm imagining stacks and stacks of either papers or iPads.
It would be funny if it was a stack of iPads, like that much. You'd need that much research for something like where
Yeah, it's like in the future.
I need terabytes of accessible and swipeable information. I'd love that. Okay, but like for example, in the Chinese calendar, which is a lunar solar calendar, there's an extra month.
Oh.
Yeah, the leap month is added according to a rule which ensures that month 11 is always the month that contains the northern winter solstice. The intercalary month takes the same number as the preceding month, for example. Essentially, it's because they're based around like lunar and solar cycles, not really like this like weird exact number of days thing. They just line it up differently. So there's that one. And the Hebrew calendar also uses an additional month.
Huh. How interesting.
So, yeah, I think it's a fascinating like different ways of handling that sort of thing. And I sometimes wonder if how much it was given prominence because it was more were weaved in, like interwoven into the cycle, as opposed to here where we're just like, fuck it, just tack on a day, just tack on a day, right? Like, but like this whole thing where it's like, well, what do you do if you're a leap day baby? The answer is celebrate your birthday on the 28th and the 1st, and also you still age, right? Like that's a silly thing, but like, it would, if we were to use say the Chinese lunar solar calendar, like that would create a whole month of leap babies, you know?
Yeah.
It should be a completely different thing. I find it very interesting. However, The main tradition that I ran into was the Leap Day tradition from Ireland. Are you
Okay.
familiar?
I'm not.
Okay, so the Leap Day tradition is between Saint Patrick and hold on, I'm not as familiar with this uh, particular saint. Let me pull it up. Hebrew calendar. Come back, Leap Day. Come back to me. Here we go. Saint Bridget, and in the lore, they struck a deal, and on Leap Day, women could propose to men, and from my understanding, in some cases, it appears that it's allowed for the whole year, and others it's like just the day. Couldn't quite figure out exactly. Might be one of those traditions where it's depends on what part of Ireland or the British Isles you are talking about. But yeah, it's just like it's a reversal of the gender roles there, and there are some like fun political cartoons, where I saw one of women with like a net. This is like one from like the late 1800s. Like they've got like a butterfly catching net, and they're like catching men, and it's like Leap Day, and I'm like, that's silly. I don't really get why everyone's upset, but that's very silly. You know, so like, there's some like other things.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a honor society of leap year day babies.
Oh.
Yeah. Didn't really look into that much further. And, like there's some stuff about like gloves, which is where it's like sort of like Leap Day is sometimes called Bachelor's Day. And in that one, a man is expected to pay some sort of like penalty, like a gown or money, if he refused a marriage proposal from a woman on Leap Day. The tradition dictates specifically that the men would buy them 12 pairs of gloves as penance for rejecting such a thing. So
Very interesting.
Very silly.
Yeah. There's so many like it seems to me that there's just a lot of various things that can or have happened on a leap day over the last I don't know how many years,
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Sort of the buying of gloves, I guess 12 gloves, one for each month. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know why 12.
I don't know anything about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a fun little quirk of a year, and it kind of marks just something a little different about it.
Yeah.
Are there any other special years that you take note of or like have a memory of that are going to come back, because like we as individuals will often be like I can think of like, okay, 2014 is the year I graduated from high school and the year I started college, right? But that's never coming back around, Anything like that for you?
No, because I think the two significant ones we had that when we were alive were Y2K and 2012.
True.
And we surpassed those. So
yeah. See, those were apocalypses.
Yeah.
Supposed apocalypses.
Yeah.
What
So
about turnings of the decade?
Turnings
like
of the
2010 and
decade.
2020.
Yeah, I mean those are always years where everybody's like, it's gonna be my decade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that was a lot of the rhetoric I had heard going into 2010, and that was a lot of the same rhetoric I heard going into 2020. And
Yeah.
in 2010 I was right around when we would have started high school.
Yep.
And so I don't think I really remembered sort of the like vibes of that energy, but I remember in 2020 the amount of people that like really put their hopes and dreams on 2020 being the greatest, like the greatest start to the greatest decade of their life.
Yeah.
And then
that
it's
didn't
sort
go
of
well.
taking a turn.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it and I was like, yeah, decades. The other one that's coming to my mind, and maybe it's because it's also based off of 4 years, the Olympics.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Olympics come every Every 4 years. And this is going to show my colors as an American and a not sports boy. The World Cup also comes.
Yep.
Is it every 4 years?
I think it's every 4 years, yeah.
I'm going to look that up real fast.
Okay. Dane's looking it up on his billions of iPads lying around.
I've pulled up a fresh one just for this.
Could you imagine a library where instead of books, it's just iPads with the book on it? It's not like you check out the ebook. It's just the iPad is the only thing with that book.
I know. It's kind of like the Jedi's library in Star
Yeah.
Wars. I was like, what is this? Like, I was like...
Like it doesn't...
Anyways.
Yeah, it's a very archaic, futuristic thing. Anyway, what did you find out?
One moment. Let's see. 98, 2002, 2006, 2000. Yeah, it's on 4. It's on 4-year rotations.
Okay.
You know, and I think those sporting events, like if I was more into sports, I think those would hit me a little more. And at the same time, the Olympics always gets me because my dad was so involved with that. And because of that, like the Olympics are kind of these like markers of phases of my life. Like the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, my dad went out, discovered speed skating in a big way, and then like literally a couple years later, we moved to Salt Lake, you know, for him to train, and like that's the that's yeah.
Your dad used to like speed skates?
Oh my God, we haven't gone over this story, have we? Oh boy. All right. That's going to be a whole episode. I will tell you the stories of my father's speed skating days and why we moved to Utah for a few years. From the age of 8 to about 11, you have no idea how much time I spent in that.
Huh.
That, you know.
That's so
space.
Interesting. All
Like
right,
on,
we'll have
like,
to
Yeah. No,
we'll have
totally.
to we'll have to do that as an episode. I'm so curious.
Absolutely.
Huh.
But that brings me to the end of my iPad research, I'm afraid. Leap year seems to be just a weird quirk.
Yeah.
And honestly, not as much as put on it as I expected.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's just... It mostly just leaves me with this feeling of we try and regiment the world, and the world, no matter what, refuses to be fully regimented. You know? And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of adds some whimsy.
Yes. I think our calendar needs more whimsy.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
that is the vibe. That is the vibe I wish.
Whimsy. Because, like, you know, I had a friend who was talking about how architecture creates constraints for things, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about this thief that had this mentality of like, if an architect puts a door in front of me, they're implying I should use that door to get in somewhere. But I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to cut a hole in the wall to get to the goods I want to steal.
Right.
And apparently because of that, this dude was able to bypass so many security systems for like a long time before he got caught.
Huh.
And I just
Wild.
think about like how rigidity.
Rigidity.
That's such a strange phrasing of a word. Just because it's like so many E sounds back to back to back.
Lots of eyes.
Yeah. Just that sort of, that is often the case in at least Western culture. There are lots of walls put in place and lots of things that are always being tried to be set in stone.
Yeah, and I think it's another reason why astrology, I feel, is so attractive to people. Just for the fact that it is much more flexible.
Yeah.
And there is that whimsy you're talking about. Like, something happened recently, I believe, with Pluto. Gracie was telling me about this. You know, Taylor, if you're out there, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. But, like, a bunch of signs who had been having a lot of trouble stopped because of this. But it happened. And then it will happen again sometime. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand. But it's like every year something interesting is happening. There are all of those cycles that are not hinged on like human metrics of like 1, 5, 10, 50, 100 years, right?
Yeah.
There are things that come in and out, and I think that tracking that makes it feel like time is passing, but in a natural way. And I
Yeah.
think that's cool.
Yeah.
But I think on that note, I think we shall say goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a short one, but because we realized we're not going to have another opportunity to talk about leap year, leap day.
Nope,
Except for
6
this
seasons in a
season.
movie.
So, yeah, so enjoy listening to this on leap day. I will definitely have it up and out by then. This is weird because this is like the 4th or 5th episode we've recorded this season, but it's going to be the 2nd episode to air.
Yep, we are recording a little wildly with reckless abandon, with whimsy.
With whimsy.
Full circle. We did it.
Wow.
Excellent.
The idea
All
that you
right.
almost said reckless abandon and then you change it to whimsy and that those two things could be related. Now that's an episode. Wordplay.
Wordplay.
Anyway, yes, I will let you take us out because you are the captain. I'm sorry.
Okay. Normally you sort of take us out like nice and easy. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go episode over.